Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Messi and Co. I am Ashley, here as always with my incredible co-host Gian, and we are here to give you the official preview of Inter Miami versus New England Revolution. And lots of really exciting stuff to talk about. We have a lot of team updates. We obviously have some questions involving the playing surface, who's going to play, if anyone isn't going to play, how we think the game's going to go, predictions, all that good stuff. But before we get into any of that, Gian, how are you doing on this beautiful Friday?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here. And it just seems like it's such a long period of time now. And now that we don't have these games in between,
Yeah,
it feels like I can't remember the last time we spoke about Inter. I don't know. It's just it's funny just to have all this time between games, but it's good for the team. So I'm just happy to talk about what's next for Inter Miami as we faced New England tomorrow. And there's a lot of interesting stuff coming out in regards to players being available, new players. So just excited to
hmm
talk about that and talk about what we can expect at the game.
agreed. Yeah, like you said, very happy to be here. I couldn't be happier to be doing this, in fact, because I'll give a little fun story to our listeners and viewers, and that is I'm currently in New England, funny enough, but I won't be at the game tomorrow night. I'm here visiting family. And so I'm like 30 minutes away from the stadium in Massachusetts. And Wednesday, when I was supposed to fly here, I missed my flight and I overslept and had a nightmare of a day. But I made it on the standby flight and have made it here. And I'm the happiest person to be in this state right now. Okay, like I couldn't be happier. But so that
That
was
was like
fun.
a home alone moment, right? That you
Yeah,
had
it
right
was
there.
basically a Home Alone moment. And Gian had said he's like, maybe I should tweet from the account saying, Ashley will always be there for your updates and your Inter Miami questions, but don't ask her to be on time for a flight. And I said, don't you dare post that. Because I was still very bitter. But no, it's all good. And
We're glad
all
you're
the
there safe. We're glad you're
yeah,
there safe, and
thank
yeah, it
you.
must be extremely frustrating and like scary to wake up and
Oh
realize
my
that
God,
you're
the
not at
worst
the
feeling in the
airport,
world.
you're not on your airplane. I can't even imagine what that feels like. I
I
did
had
that one time, but it
42
was on
missed
purpose.
calls.
Yeah,
I had
no.
42 missed calls and I was like, oh my God, this is like nightmare. But we made it. And while I was doing that fun traveling and mishaps, we had a lot of interesting Inter Miami news and player updates happening this week. And I think it's time we talk about them because since we talked last time, uh, Inter Miami have signed a new player, and that is Paraguayan midfielder Matias Rojas. And it is a player who we have been very excited about and who I've been talking about a lot and provides much needed depth in this midfield. As we've talked about dealing with injuries, things like that, we have a new player who's joined us and who immediately has already been integrated into the team and done practices, done some content, and looks like he's super ready to go and doesn't look like, he's behind a step at all. So, what are your initial thoughts on finally having Rojas as part of the team?
Yeah, we had definitely heard about him for a long time now. A lot of rumors behind him. Inter Miami had been chasing him. He had issues with his contract over in Corinthians since January. He had
Mhm.
issues with non-payment. He had been trying to get out of it. They even had a lawsuit trying to figure that whole mess out. But yeah, Inter Miami kept their eye on him, and finally he was made available to us, and they signed him. And I think it's really good for Inter Miami, especially coming into this part of the season where we're facing a lot of injuries. We have guys that are out now, most recent Gomez, which is a huge hit for Inter Miami, both on the defensive side, on the midfield side.
Mhm.
Um, is just a guy that
Redondo.
really was a guy that was really starting to mesh well with Messi. Same thing that you just mentioned with Redondo not being available as well. Robert Taylor also that had gone out. We've got some news on him, but just the fact that we started with a lot of depth in midfield and with attacking wings, especially again with Farias going out early in the year in the season, and now you've got a guy in Matias Rojas that comes from Corinthians. He didn't have his best stint at Corinthians. He joined them, I believe, mid last year in 2023, coming out of Racing Club from Argentina. But a lot of people are kind of focused on those numbers when they're Googling him, and because, you know, he's not maybe the most prominent name, trying to figure out who he is. And they're seeing these numbers, no goals, you know, with Corinthians, limited playing time, the issues. But if you go back to his 2022, 2023, even 2021 season with Racing Club in Argentina, he did fairly well. He did actually
Hmm.
really, you know, in 2023, I believe he had 3 goals in 3 Copa Libertadores matches. He had, I think it was like 6 goals in 14 matches in the league with Argentina. Like, he was balling out. He was doing really
Hmm.
good. He's a guy that's really good on attack, a guy that's really good at playmaking. If you look at his highlights, he's a guy that can shoot really well from range, score some banger goals from outside
Yeah.
the area, scores really good free kicks. So this is a guy that you know, those games where you're going to be missing with Messi as he's going into June and July, where he could miss up to a potential of 5 games, 5 or 6 games, I think it is, if he goes to the Copa America finals and makes it all the way there. We could be missing some time. This is a guy, Matias Rojas, that can come and slot in and give you a lot of the stuff that you'll be missing with Messi. Obviously,
Hmm.
not to Messi's level, but he's the closest guy right now that you have that can still give you that playmaking and that attacking ability up front, especially when you don't have Farias. And even with Messi, you know, some of the things that I've heard around this conversation is that can he be on the field at the same time as Messi? Because he plays
Right.
similar. He plays on the right side. Look, these guys are professionals. Matias Rojas is a professional. If he needs to be on the left side, especially now when we don't have Gomez, he can definitely play that area, and I think he's a huge acquisition for Inter Miami right now.
100% agree. Yeah, I think, especially because we've seen with midfield and with even the attacking three that there have been some issues with depth and, having to move formations and positions, etc. With the Copa America tournament coming up, it's super important to get good players who play in similar style who can slot in. And agreed that I think Rojas can absolutely do that. I don't know if he'll be starting tomorrow, probably not, but I think he's immediately integrated into the team and is going to be able to add a lot of value. So it's going to be really exciting to see how he fits in with the team and what we'll see out of him. So we'll keep kind of bringing that up as we start to see more playing minutes from him and see how he integrates with the team. But it's an exciting acquisition that we all have been knowing is going to happen for a while
Yeah.
now. So it's been really great. But outside of him, there are 3 other players who are going to be available now for Inter Miami for most likely tomorrow, but in general, available for the team. And it's almost like 3 new signings because we have Ian Frey, who has
Yeah.
been out for almost a year with his ACL injury that he unfortunately got during Messi's first game for Inter Miami against Cruz Azul last year. And it's Ian Frey is a young player who has had a lot of really bad injury luck, tearing both of his ACLs. I think an Achilles injury, just had tough luck over the last few years. But we said in the beginning of the season, waiting for him to come back, that he is a super, super talented defender and provides the depth that we absolutely need in our defending positions, especially knowing we can't expect Cello to play every single minute of every single game at right back for the rest of the season. Obviously, we know Jordi Alba's hurt and is back and forth. If you're going with a back three or a back four, if you need even a defensive midfielder, Ian Frey offers a lot of flexibility and a lot of talent. And so I'm super happy that he made it back and is able to get back integrated into the team.
Yeah, he's a guy that's very versatile. He can play center back. He can play
Super
right back.
versatile.
As you said, he can play defensive midfielder as well. And we've known the issues that this Inter Miami defense has had, especially depth wise. And there have been issues when certain players are out and then the formation has to change. And then you go from 2 center backs and 2 fullbacks to 3 center backs and then
Right.
2 wing backs. And that just kind of throws this team out of whack. We've seen that the team doesn't do well playing like that. I think we've so far received 15 goals against us so far this season. Out of those 15, 7 goals were in 2 games, and those 2 games happened to be where we played with 3 center backs as
Yeah.
opposed to
Yeah.
a back four. So we know that how important that is, and those have been times where Tata has had to play that because we haven't had that right back, especially after we lost Yedlin, right? So now if Weingart is here and Weingart can't play, to what you mentioned earlier, because we can't expect him to play every single minute for the rest of the season, whether it's just
Mhm.
for whether it's an injury or whether it's just rest. Now you've got a guy in Ian Frey that can slot in and still allow you to play the strategy and the formation that best suits this team. So
Yeah,
overall, it's a great, I think, a great thing to have him back on this team for that added depth. And then for him to just continue growing as a player. He's a young guy that was thrown into the mix early on last season
and super talented.
because,
Like for the
yeah,
limited time he's played,
exactly.
super talented.
And he was thrown into, I think, along with a lot of players in Inter Miami,
Hmm.
the young guys that were thrown into
But I'm
roles
asking
that
really.
were prematurely, yeah, like meant because of injuries. So now he's back, and it's good to have him be able to continue learning. And this is something that this Inter Miami team is doing. It's banking a lot on its youth. So that's important to have him back and just continue learning from these guys, learning from guys like Jordi Alba and Busquets on the defensive end. It'll just continue to be a lot better for him and for this team. And yeah, just excited to have Ian Frey back.
Agreed. Yeah, good for him. We wish him nothing but the best. And then before we move on to our next subject, also Robert Taylor and Leo Campana have joined the team fully in training and are back available. Again, do I think this means they both start tomorrow? Maybe, probably not, but I think they'll get minutes. And so although we keep missing players for injury, we've lost Alba, Gomez, and Redondo. We have now gained back a few others, and so that's, like we said, it's part of professional sports. You win some, you lose some in terms of players. But with that being said, I definitely think we have enough for tomorrow, uh, and that is even knowing that we may or may not have all of our normal players playing tomorrow, maybe. So what do I mean by that? Well, uh, this will be the first game this season that Inter Miami play on artificial turf, which we learned last season and we've talked about in the past. Is a playing surface that some uh, MLS stadiums use, and a lot of that is because they play on NFL football stadiums, and this is another example of that. The New England Revolution play at Foxborough at Gillette Stadium, which is normally the Patriots Stadium, and so they use artificial turf. And there are sometimes a lot of older players and big players who worry about playing on that surface because it can sometimes be more susceptible to getting injuries. In your ACL or your Achilles, you see it in professional football. It happens a lot. It's happened to some soccer players as well. Last year, it happened to Coco Gian, our forward. He was playing. I don't remember where that game was, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe was it Gillette? I don't know. It was somewhere, and he tore his ACL. And so the question that people have been asking is, because we're playing on this playing surface, is Messi, Suarez, or Busquets going to sit the game out and not risk injuring themselves on the playing surface? And the answer to that question is, until tomorrow at 6:30 when we get the lineup, we can't know for certain. We can't 100% predict. We can't. What we've learned from Messi is that he has no problem playing on the surface. He played on it last year against Charlotte, and I think he would be fine playing on it. Suarez last year in Brazil did not play in games that were played on artificial turf because of his lingering knee issues that he's had. And Busquets, I don't know. So, my question to you, Gian, is that for tomorrow's game against the last place New England Revolution, who have 4 points compared to Inter Miami's 18 points, do you think Messi and Suarez or either are going to start or come off the bench or sit out tomorrow night? Just purely based on the playing surface before we get into the actual match.
Well, I think they'll play. I think that Messi has already dispelled those rumors. Obviously, last season playing in Charlotte, he did miss another game that was on synthetic field, but I believe it was more due to like rest or conflict with scheduling with another match. But it wasn't because he was trying to avoid it. So I think
Hmm.
with Messi's concerned, I think that he'll play, and I think that he'll probably start, in my opinion. Now, these are things that we can't necessarily, as we've learned with this team, that you can't necessarily just bank 100% on, is this person going to start? Is
What
this
do you
player
mean?
going to
We're
be out?
always so accurate in our predictions.
No, it's tough. It's tough with this team. They're very tight-lipped, most definitely. But I think Messi, just knowing him, if he's available and healthy, he doesn't care what field it's on. He's going to go ahead and start. The same thing with Suarez. I know it's been reported that he did avoid playing on synthetic field in Brazil, but Tata Martino said this morning in the press conference after the practice that neither of them are going to be. There are no limits on either Messi or Suarez in regards to the artificial turf, and that basically if they're healthy and available to play, which they are, that they can play. He did hold back from saying whether they were going to start or not. So to
Hmm.
me, I think Messi and Suarez play. I think Messi starts. I think Suarez is going to start too, unless he wants to maybe give Campana some time and just limit Suarez a bit more. I think that Suarez would probably be the guy that you want to watch out more for on artificial turf, even more so than Messi. But tomorrow, I think, is an important game, and you're looking at this team, and you're saying, okay, you're facing the last team in MLS in New England, but I think it's an important game because we have the opportunity to, I think, start to string more games together, start to get more points, and hopefully create some more distance between us and our opponents in MLS. And what better shot than to play against the last team in the MLS? And the last thing you want to do is sacrifice this game when it should be a no-brainer that you need to win. So with that said, I do think Messi and Suarez will play. I think that they will both start, but Tata Martino has not said 100% if they will. He did say that they will probably play. So that's kind of where we're at there, and we'll probably find out an hour before the match.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I feel similarly to you. I think that
Yeah,
I feel much more confident that, if I were betting man, like, do I think Messi is going to play slash start? Like, yeah, most likely. Um, Suarez, I don't feel as strongly about. I don't necessarily really like want him to, if
yeah,
it could be avoided. Like, I just don't think, even though he's scored so many goals and he's been really good this season, like, you still see him laboring, and his body's never going to be what it once was. And so if we don't have to force it, I don't want to. Messi, I think, is different in the sense that, not that Messi, like, can control his knees better than Suarez or anything like that. I think just Messi plays in a way where he just, I trust him more to put himself in situations where he wouldn't, where that, hopefully, knock on wood, wouldn't be as much of like a factor. Suarez is more just kind of like a full throttle player, and I can
yeah.
understand the trepidation to limit him. But we'll see. I think with or without starting them, we have enough to win this game. It will be difficult, but I would also say this: if Campana was perfectly healthy and he hadn't been hurt the last few weeks, I would say there's a 0% chance that Suarez played tomorrow. I would say
Yeah.
Campana
But
starts, Campana plays, but because of what that he hasn't played, I think the flow of the team and the substitutions and the rotation is different.
that's where it gets a little different, I think, in regards to what you just mentioned. And you mentioned Campana. Okay, you have players that are coming back from injury in Campana
But do you want
and
to put them there?
Taylor.
Yeah.
Those are the guys I would be more concerned about, I think,
Hmm.
as to their availability in playing tomorrow. Those are guys. Do you
Yeah.
want to have Campana come in right off an injury and play on turf? Do you want Robert Taylor coming off an injury to play on turf? Those are the guys I think that
Yeah.
you want to think about more. So when you look at, is it going to be Campana or Suarez? Like, I think you go with Suarez over Campana because Suarez isn't coming back from an injury. But there's a difference between what do you want or what's going to happen. I understand definitely when you're saying, yeah, I don't know if I want to see Suarez on an artificial field, but these are guys that are competitors, and these are guys that if they're healthy and they feel healthy, they don't care what pitch they're playing on. Like, I don't know, especially this season, and you know, I think that they see that the prize. They see this MLS season, they really want to win, and they're gonna put their bodies on the line. They've shown that. Suarez, man, you see him limping on the field, but he knows, like,
Yeah.
Like you could tell he really is going for it and giving it his 100%. And I'm happy and thankful to Suarez to be giving of himself when you can see he's visibly not his body's like breaking down. It's sad sometimes, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
think I think we'll see them tomorrow. And
We'll
what
see.
capacity
You know,
remains to be determined. So
100%. It'll be interesting. Like I said, and to your point, if you said to me, who is more likely? I'd say Messi is more likely to, I
yeah,
feel that he's going to be playing more minutes. We'll see. But, we, like you said, we never know. But, outside of just those two players, the overall match, how are we feeling about it? What do we think? To give a little bit of background, like we just said previously, New England Revolution right now are last in the East. Only 4 points they've gotten so far compared to Inter Miami's 18. They're not having a great season. I think that, they've had a couple down years, I would say, compared to, most of their franchise history, which they've been a very good team in MLS for the most part. And, they have only right now a couple, I'd say, like super great players, and they're kind of, rebuilding, going through their own motions. So, it seems like it would be a David versus Goliath situation where Inter Miami, with their players and experience and recent form, should win comfortably. But that's, professional sports, and especially soccer. You can't always say that. It doesn't always happen that way. We see it every week that it's about, how players play on an individual day. I know that the game is practically sold out tomorrow, almost 60,000 tickets sold. Obviously, you would imagine most to see Messi, and that also I think throws a wrench into, like we said, Inter Miami, they don't have to every time a place sells out have to play Messi for 90 minutes. Like it's not a requirement. But similarly to Kansas City, and we know so far of this MLS, of Apple, of Adidas, etc., like if Messi is able and willing, he will most likely play, and he will do what he can to be there and to, obviously give the people a show. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. But in general, the environment should be really exciting. And I want Inter Miami to show that, with the likes of Kremaski, with the likes of our defenders, Aviles, Freire, everyone has added value. Maybe we'll see Schneider Borgelin play. We're going to see David Ruiz. We're going to see, maybe Ian Frey. We'll see some players that who are great players on their own and could certainly Gressel, who can slot in and make a very positive impact on the game. So I still, even with the rotations, even with not knowing exactly who our starting 11 is going to be, I feel comfortable that Inter Miami should have control of this game and should win.
yeah, it's interesting that this New England Revolution team was a really good team. What, a couple of years ago, right? Was it? Did they break the
They were,
records for points? They
yeah,
had like 70 something points, I think it was.
yeah, they were
Um,
great.
yeah, they were a really good team. I believe they won the Supporter Shield, but then they got knocked out in the MLS Cup. But as of late, over the last few seasons, or a couple of seasons, they haven't been the best team. They've been trending down. This season, they started off really poorly. They haven't won. I think they've only won one game at home thus far. But this is, I think that when you talk about an important game, this is an even more important game for New England than it is for Miami. Miami's finally finding its form. They're finally putting wins together. They're accumulating points. And you've got a New England team that's going to be playing in front of a sold out home or record setting home crowd, with the
Hmm.
ability to play the best team in MLS, with the chance to change their trajectory and come out with a win. Can you even imagine what a win would look like for them
Yeah.
against Messi, against Inter Miami, the number one team? Like, I think that they're looking at this game with a lot more importance than Miami is, and saying, man, if we can get this can change our entire season. So I
And that's what we
expect,
say, right? Like players,
yeah,
every time a team plays against Inter Miami, they're playing their best.
yeah,
They're
no,
putting their best players forward and wanting
this
to
can
get the
be a
result, and that's the problem Inter Miami have to deal with every week.
this can be a tougher match than it looks like on paper.
Yeah,
I mean, you look at this on paper and you look at the records, you look at the amount, the disparity in the amount of goals scored, the disparity in the talent on paper, and you're going to say this is going to be, a easy match for Inter Miami. But when you look at things in a broader context, you see, and you've seen some of these teams historically just play their butts off against Miami
Hmm.
and do things that they haven't done in other matches. So I think that Inter Miami is going to have a bit tougher match than maybe what others might expect. And again, playing New England, playing in front of a home crowd that's going to be, I think, rooting for them. I think they're a faithful crowd. Yeah, you're going to see Messi jerseys, you're going to see Inter Miami jerseys, but I still think that the overwhelming amount of this crowd is probably going to be behind their team. And I think it'll be important also for Miami just to not let down, to not play down to their opponent. They're obviously the better team, and whether it's a mix of some of the guys that don't get that many minutes and some of the starters, or it's just full on your normal starters, I think that this team needs to go out and just continue showing that they can be consistent in winning. We've seen this team look good, and then we've seen this team look bad, and right when we think we're on the cusp of finally regaining our best form, we take a few steps back. So I think that this Inter Miami team just needs to build that consistency and show us that they can win on a match to match basis, and they have the ability to put together their first 3-win streak so far this season. And I
Yeah.
think it'll be important, and especially knowing that, again, we mentioned this earlier, that Messi is going to be missing quite a few games coming up in June. We're in April. You at the end of April, you basically got now and next month. You want to take advantage of every match that you have with him. So that way, when he's not on the pitch, if you suffer a few matches here and there where you're dropping some points, at least you're still in the running and you're still at the top when he comes back. So I think that this match will be a great opportunity to put together a good win. But yeah, I think that we'll probably talk about our predictions in a bit, but I think it'll be a good match. As it seems like every Inter Miami is a good match. It doesn't matter.
Hmm.
It doesn't
Yeah,
matter who
which is
plays.
great.
So it'll be
Yeah.
fun to watch.
Yeah, agree. I couldn't agree more. I think we'll both be watching and on the edge of our seats to see who plays and what they're
Yeah.
going to do and how the atmosphere in the game goes. And with that being said, of course, everyone's favorite part of the show, our predictions. Now, look, and normally I go and say, here's what I definitely think the starting 11 is going to look like, and this is what the formation is going to look like. I'll be honest, I don't know for tomorrow. I really, really don't know. I don't know if we're going to immediately see Robert Taylor slotted back in. I don't know if we're going to see Rojas play. I don't know if we're going to see Borgelin instead of Suarez. I don't know if, I think that we're going to see I think we're going to see Gressel. I think we're going to see Kremaski. I think we're going to see Ruiz starting. I think, you know, I don't think we're going to see Busquets start, in all honesty. I think he's going to get to start on the bench, I think. Um, Defenders, I think it's going to be, maybe we'll see Noel and instead of Negri, because obviously Negri is still just coming back off of a very difficult injury. And although he's been great so far, maybe they're trying to be smart, knowing they're using him and not knowing how long Jordi Alba really is going to be out. Is Campana going to get minutes right away? There's a lot of unknowns. Like, is Messi going to start and play the whole 90 minutes, or is he going to come in for 30 minutes? I don't know. And so I'm not going to predict what I think the starting 11 is going to be. Uh, I think I I'll wait and see. But what I will predict and what I do think is that no matter our starting 11, no matter our rotations, I think Inter Miami is going to win this game, and I think they're going to win it 2-0.
Yeah. Okay.
I was
I
right. I
like
know I
that
was wrong
score.
last week, but we won't talk about that.
Yeah. So a couple of things. I think that's a good score. The first thing, and I think the most important thing here for us to remember, for all the listeners to know, is that I, in fact, was right 2 weeks in a row
Okay.
with my scoreline. It's since been proven that I was the one that got it right last week, not you. So
Okay.
I
Okay.
just want everybody to know, because that's really important. I mean,
I'm
if
the
there's
one who missed
anything
my fight. Why are you trying to put salt on the wound?
if there's anything you take out of today's episode,
Yeah.
I think that
Okay.
that would be the most important thing to walk away with.
Okay. Okay.
Second, I know you didn't want to share the lineup, but I know exactly who's going to start, so I'd like to share that.
Okay. Please, all knowing. Let's hear
Just
it.
because I think that now that I've guessed 2 weeks in a row the what's it called, the
The
results, I
prediction.
think that, yeah, the predictions, I think that I don't know. I feel like enlightened. It's weird. Like I feel like I
All
know
right, let's hear
exactly
it
who's going to
out
start. So if I get this right, I'm also playing the lottery next week. So just so you guys know. So who is going to start? I think Inter Miami is going to go out there and try to win this game with their best 11 available. I think that they don't have to worry about midweek games anymore. So there's no reason to rest players other than if they're injured or if they're afraid of synthetic field, which I don't think they are. So I think whoever is available and whoever the best 11 are going to be on the field. So with that, I think it's Calendar, obviously in the goal. And then as your left back, you're going to have Negri. And then you're going to have Freire, Aviles, and Chelo. So that's going to be your back four. Then in the midfield, I believe you are going to have Busquets. You're going to have Ruiz on the right, and then you're going to have Kremaski on the left. And then your top three are going to be on the left is going to be Matias Rojas. He usually plays on the right, but he will play on the left this time. And then you're going to have Suarez and Messi. I think that's going to be your starting 11. I think that's the
No
best
Gressel.
available. No Gressel. I don't think Gressel's gonna start. I think if anything, he would be the one to deserve rest, just because he's played, I believe, almost every game, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. So I think that he would just get maybe some rest because of the amount of minutes he's put. But if Kremaski doesn't start, then I think it's Gressel. But I think
Mm-hmm.
I think they'll finally give Kremaski his start. Then as far as the scoreline is concerned, I think Inter Miami is going to score like probably like a good 4. So I think it's going to be 4. I think it's going to be 4-1, just because
Okay.
I mean it's tough for I have Inter Miami hasn't had too many shutouts.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
No, ain't that the
yeah.
truth?
And then here's fingers crossed for no goal in the first 5 minutes against Inter
Yeah.
Miami.
Okay.
Let's try to
Okay.
break that
Well,
record. So
yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
So,
those are
but
all
two
right.
zero,
It's good
I agree with
prediction.
you. It could be 2-0. I'm just going for the home run here. I'm going for 4-1.
I hope you're right. I
Um,
mean, I know I don't actually hope you're right, but I hope you're right that it is. I hope we score a lot of goals
what
and
do you
that we are
mean? I hope, but I know. Oh my goodness, that's funny.
it's just everything is a competition, Gian. You know that. I can't lose. No, but in all seriousness, the better we play, the more we win, the better this
Yeah,
podcast is, the better the season is. It's all awesome. And we'll see. To be completely honest, I think there'll be a little bit more rotation than you're saying. I think
yeah,
I'm not, I just think that even though they aren't saying the field is a big deal and maybe it's not, I still think that, there's a long season. And when you're forget the field, the fact that we're playing someone who's 14 points less than us is a reason enough to want to give some rotation and just want to be able to, knowing that we're going to be missing some of our best players in the summer, good to, not just rely on them. But we'll see.
I agree.
I really don't know, and we'll see.
I agree with what you're
So,
saying. I definitely
you
agree
know,
with what you're saying. I just want you to know that, like, it would be prudent and it would make sense for them to go the route that you're saying, 100%.
but who knows? Because you're
I'm
right,
just
we've
trying to
been
throw a
playing well.
different view because
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, and you're
to
right. I
mix it
mean, the
up, but it
consistency
would
is
make sense.
important.
Yeah,
Consistency is important, and the team has been playing great. The confidence has been great. The more we can keep climbing and setting ourselves apart at first, I think is great. So look,
yeah,
we'll wait and see. Let us know in the comments what you think. Who you think, if there's going to be rotations, who you think is going to start, who you think is going to play, who you think is going to sit out, and your predictions. But until then, uh, thank you for watching another episode of Messi and Co. Make sure you are following us on Twitter/X at Messi and Co. Make sure you're following and subscribed on YouTube and have the notification bell on every time on 5 Reasons Sports Messi and Co. puts out a new video. Make sure you're following us on TikTok, Messi and Co. at 5RSN to get our latest clips and highlights. And just let us know your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing what you think. We love your opinion. And we will be back tomorrow night with a post-game live stream to go over what we hope is a great victory and a good game and a fun atmosphere. And just excited for the season to keep going. So,
yeah. I just like to let everybody know because there might be concerned about your flight back from the fans. We're going to set up alarms, multiple alarms for Ashley.
wow, you're really having a day, aren't you?
I will personally give her a call to make sure she arrives on time. That way, she can be at the match against New York Red Bulls next week, as we will bring you all the coverage that we typically do. So throw that concern
I'm
out the
so
way.
glad you added that. Thank you, Gian. I was worried we wouldn't get it into this episode. No, but all jokes aside, Thank you so much for watching and for listening. I'm Ashley. That is Gian, and we will see you next time.